Hey everybody, it's Jay and Nick. We are just back from MSR Houston and the Texas Tippin event.
Yeah, actually I didn't go, but I was following it online, and on Instagram I saw, our guys really keep up with the current events, and there was a car that was the FYRE Festival theme.
What's the FYRE Festival?
Oh yeah, so it's this guy, some douchebag, who tried to organize this event that was like totally complicated, a lot of moving parts, and he thought he could be an event organizer, even though he didn't know what he was doing.
Well, as long as we're talking about butt terrible, I'll tell you two things that are butt terrible. First of all American Motors products. I don't even need to go into it more than that. And cheap tires. Now, we have shown that pretty cheap tires can do really well, but incredibly cheap tires like Ardent tires, just don't even do it.
Yeah. All right, hella sweet. There was this team, they had a Mazda pickup. Now, one of the things you do when you buy a random car for lemons is you go onto the internet for them for that car.
Right.
And there always is one, no matter how terrible or obscure your car is.
Right.
These guys go on the engine. All right, Mazda pickup tuning secrets. First thing on the list, go immediately to the junkyard, get an engine from a Kia Sportage.
I like that there even is a tuning secret for a Mazda pickup
There always
truck.
is.
And did it work?
It worked great. These guys were in Class C, obviously.
Yeah.
And when they went out, they beat all of the Class B cars. They were like among the slowest cars in the race.
Yeah, they were
granted.
43rd fastest lap overall. Creamed all the Class B cars.
But they were so steady that they were just incredibly consistent. That was hella sweet.
Hella sweet in a different way was the cheap saloon racing Buick bone stock. Painfully bone stock. What I actually liked best about this car, it was so bone stock that the radio still worked in the dashboard and they were listening to it during the race. So we had not the heroic fix, but the heroically wrong fix at this race. These guys, they had this Mitsubishi. It didn't work. Well, they never do. It's a Mitsubishi, but so they took out the divining rod. Oh, it's the fuel injectors. Sure it is. They spent the entire weekend, rather than just finding out what was really wrong, they would get these flashes of inspiration. Oh, the injectors aren't working. So they got a carburetor, I think off a Porsche 914, and adapted it with plumb. Well, the car still didn't run. Oh, you know what? No, it used to be that, but now it's the spark. Now we don't have any spark. Okay, so let's go get a new wiring harness. Oh, no, that didn't work. Okay, let's take the distributor off the 914 and put it onto our Mitsubishi. But they're getting further and further away from actually fixing this car. So I hope they had a good time. They spent the whole weekend. The engine looked hilarious by the time they were done. Did it run? Not once.
I got screwed, went to TARP Racing, our friends Pat Mulry, Roland Vaughn, and their great team.
Et al.
Yeah. They've got a BMW now, so it actually is a contender, and in fact it was contending.
Yep.
It was in the top 3 for most of the weekend, and then on Sunday, as BMWs sometimes do, they start to develop one problem after another. Well, first the transmission, the 5th gear stopped. Then the 4th gear stopped. Then all they had was 3rd gear. Okay. That's a bit of a problem. We can limp it around. Okay, now the power steering won't work. Now the power brakes aren't working. And this contraption is getting more and more jankety as it's
they are
rolling down
preserving their P3 spot.
By
the car is
staying out
not
there.
slowing down.
Exactly. By staying out there, they were able to maintain this lofty position.
It's incredible.
And then Roland Vaughn is driving along, and he's cruising. Okay, I've got all of these various problems figured out, and the seat just goes straight through the floor. Clang! And then that finally took them out. They got screwed.
The special award was the world's fastest rental car trophy, and I told you about that incredibly stock Buick. This was an equally stock Ford Taurus. This was a car, clearly somebody had just stopped driving it to school yesterday. They had painted it, and they had taken it to the Lemons race. Damn near new. And yet, I think it was 7th overall. It was incredibly slow, incredibly reliable. It just goes to show you, you do not need to get clever.
Judge's choice requires a little background. Now, Houston is the home of the Slab, slow, loud, and banging car trend, elbow wheels poking out, trunk pop, recline the fifth, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And we think that it is fantastic. And we've been bugging these Houston guys forever to do it. They would never do it. Finally, a team in Michigan, of all places, totally pulled it off with their Chrysler Cordoba. And we shamed the Houston people saying, look at these pasty dudes from Michigan that totally pulled off this completely convincing slab. And what did Texas do? They didn't lie down and say, you know what, you're right, we're total lamos. They decided, you know what, they were right the first time, but now we're going to show Michigan what it's all about. And so 3 separate teams, Spin It to Win It, the Negotiator, and the Hungry Pillagers, which is, of course, the Dragon Buick LeSabre. They totally nailed the slab theme. In fact, we have the t-shirt from the event right here.
Represent.
With the elbows, with the stereo system. And these teams did all of that. There are 3 cars. We did a slab parade where they were tipping the whips. It looked incredible. The judges gave them a well-deserved judge's choice.
Yeah. Our choice went to Holy Crap Racing and their Northstar powered DeVille. Northstars do not do well in lemons as a rule, which is to say...
Or in life.
Or in life.
Yeah.
They explode spectacularly. They're way too complicated. They do not run. They overheat. They are just terrible. So these guys did a brilliant decoration on this car, including the Holy Roller tires, which was really my favorite. But everywhere you look, this car was brilliant, and I just thought, they got the right idea. It's a bunch of good guys. They've done a beautiful paint job. They put a lot of thought into it. Shame they're going to blow up after 3 laps.
Yeah.
That's really too bad. But you know what? They ran the entire weekend slowly but flawlessly. The car just went around and around. They had a good time. We liked watching it. Org choice.
All right, index of effluency actually ties in a little bit to the org choice because we posted this IOE winner next to the org choice winner before the race, and we posted on social media saying, hey, which car do you guys think is going to finish
And the
higher?
answer is neither.
And the answer was really neither, but most of our fans knew this. Well, that Northstar ain't gonna work at all. And it turned out, well, they weren't exactly right about that, but they were right that this team did dominate and did win the IOE. I am, of course, talking about Orca Racing and their Cadillac CTS. I mean, this thing's like a 2003.
Right.
Every time you post it, where did you get a CTS for $500? As if they aren't like littering the sides of the road as we speak. So these guys brought this car. Of course it didn't work. They had all kinds of problems with the original drivetrain, and they finally said, you know what our problem is? All of this newfangled stuff, way too complicated. What we need is the simplest and most reliable engine of all time, which is the 4.3-liter V6 from a Chevy S10 with the carburetor on top.
Got to push rods in the big carburetor on the top.
And they,
there are 4 moving parts.
They put this thing in there with angle iron. It's like sort of at this
And
angle, and it's at this angle, and whatever. Ran great. 7th overall. Index of effluence.
Here's Lemons in a nutshell.